We need to
I mean,
push.
yeah, if you're gonna push something, might as well.
Storyboard.org. They got this book. Oh my God, I learned so much from it. You got anything like that?
Thank you. That's it. That's what you got to do. My friends, welcome. We are live. We got a bunch of knuckleheads that we have on this. We're supposed to be pros. We're supposed to be professionals, right? Welcome to everybody. We're at the Lightbox Expo Saturday chat. And we have, let me show you who we have. Let me take myself off here. Look at this panel of awesome guys. So great. Let me start off. I'm Sergio. You probably know who I am because you see me on these talks. If you don't, well, you don't want to hear about me. You want to hear about Vaughn Ross, who's an awesome director at Warner Brothers. Welcome, Vaughn. Yay.
Hello. Glad to be here, Sergio.
Thank you. I pulled a lot of favors to get these guys out here. Then we got Calvin Sang, who's now at Blue Sky Studios. We met in the Bay Area. Welcome, Calvin. Yay.
Thanks for having me. Calvin.
And then going around the clock here, we got Lee Tang from Pixar. Thank you, Lee, for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know, man. It's like you're probably working 24 hours a day, right?
Yeah, Saturday. Let's make this quick.
And then we got Don Ta, who's working at Blizzard, who's a awesome story professional. And we want to talk about all the stuff that you guys are working on. And last but not least, Sterling Sheehy, who's also amazing guy. He's working at Lucasfilm right now. Welcome, Sterling. Now, do you guys all know each other? I think maybe a couple of you have not met before, right?
No. Sterling and I have never met.
Okay.
I know everybody. Yeah.
All right, good.
What's up, Sterling?
I know everybody.
Hey,
guys.
Mr.
Popular.
Don Lee. I know everybody.
Well, I guess I should say welcome everybody who's coming here. Now, I told these guys to stay positive because we're going to tell them like the positive stories about the industry. Now, actually, that's not true. I mean, everything goes here. We should be real. We should tell people about this. Now, the first thing that Vaughn let me know because he's the most woke out of all of us here. It's like there's no girls on this panel. It's like where are the girls? And yes, you caught me. I probably should have thought harder about who we brought on here, but okay, let me ask you guys. This is a legit question. Why is that? Why are there not as many girl story artists that I've seen in the industry than guys?
Patriarchy?
Oh.
Well, I would say it's definitely getting better. I think just the industry in general has been kind of male dominated for so long, but it's definitely getting better. And I'd have to say that on my show in particular that I'm working on now, I'd probably say like 60% women in the story department. Mm-hmm. I'm one of 3 directors and 2 of them are women. So it's definitely getting better. But there's still work to be done for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's one of the good trends going on right now in animation. Because when I started Pixar 4 years ago, there weren't as many females in the story department, and there've been a good kind of like hiring up of female story artists. I remember when I was at Disney TV before, that was kind of last gig I was in LA. It was mostly female story artists, and it was kind of my first experience in that situation. I was like, "Oh, this is really cool," because at the time, a lot of them were like, I think Cal Arts had more female animation grads than male at this point. I was like, oh, that's a good indication of like new things happening and change.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's also a little bit like this industry tends to want to hire people that already have experience doing something. So it doesn't like to give chances. So I think it's harder to break in. So there's been a tendency to always lean on, like, that guy's he's been doing it for 20 years. So let's get him rather than, somebody who only has like 2 years of experience. And that's changing. I think people are realizing, hey, if we want to tell new stories with new voices, we can't keep, just going to the same sources all the time.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the stuff, at least I've been working on, it's like action show, there's sword fights, there's battles. And like, what I think was, I was always, after I got off the action stuff, I wanted more drama. I wanted more like emotion and interpersonal stuff. Like I was really into that stuff. Guys were like, okay, I know we're generalizing the whole thing, but as we grew up playing with G.I. Joes and Kung Fu fights and all that stuff, like the girls were not into that, and I think we need those sensibilities to come in here.
But that's the perception, though. I think girls do want to. Sometimes they want to do cool action stuff, but they think, oh, because this studio just do cool action stuff, so they're not gonna hire a woman. Because I had a student, a girl, like a female student, came up to me and said, "Oh, do Lucasfilm hire women?" And I'm like, "Of course we hire women. What are you talking about?" But they just have this perception that because of Star Wars, we only want.
So can you still get hired just based on your skills? Like, can you just throw in a portfolio and will you get the work if your portfolio is good?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the work's like the thing, like, good work can come from anywhere, and I think that's like, it cuts all prejudices and like destroys them. Like, good work is good work. I mean, it's beautiful, I love looking at work and not knowing who made it. It's great. It's such a wonderful thing that the arts is able to do.
Yeah, but it's also
nepotism. You're looking for the word.
Yeah. And getting hired.
I'm just saying, can you make good work? Yes, anybody can.
Actually,
wait, industry.
No, that's the first
that's
step.
Not
definitely.
me. That's not me.
Yeah, having a good portfolio, and having being able to draw all the foundational stuff is that's just getting your foot in the door kind of a thing. And then, having connections or getting a word put in for you from because a lot of most of the jobs that I've gotten, I'd say all of them have been through a referral of some sort. Someone saying, I know this guy. His attitude stinks, but his work is pretty good.
But that's exactly. I always talk a lot about this networking, right? And just getting connections,
right? And that starts in school. That starts, when I started as an intern and whatnot, and what I'd say is when you're starting out, be kind to everyone. Don't be an asshole because you never know who's going to be your boss. Yep. That water boy can end up being your boss one day. And, and it's all about relationships. I feel like, your work is one pillar of keeping your career going. And the other pillar is your relationships, and I think even your relationships with your managers and producers and whatnot, that's one thing. But I think that your relationships with your peers is almost even more valuable because those are the ones that are gonna pull you up along the way, and you'll do the same for them, and it kind of it's just kind of a perpetual kind of cycle that happens.
Right.
Yeah.
And to follow up with that, I think work definitely is a big factor, but I think good work is getting you in, but to stay in the industry is really about your reputation, the people, all that stuff. So, and I always tell students, it's not, when you're talking about networking, it's not who you know, but who knows you, that kind of stuff. So go out there and, you can make connections and all that stuff.
Remember that one.
I gotta make a poster out of that.
You need to grab Sterling's mic and drop it, Calvin.
Drop it for everyone.
There you go. But it really, it's that's why events like that is really helpful. Get to know the recruiter and then meet the artist. Like Vaughn, most of my gig is just through talking with somebody in the industry. They just say, "Oh yeah, I remember that guy. Yeah, give him a shot." So you can try that. So.
Yeah, I think so too. Let me pull up this. This is awesome. Check out this one. This question let's see, Kyra here. Can you guys see that on screen? She's saying, allow women to direct action shows, please. I don't know if you guys can see that feed on the panel, but
sure.
Yeah, one of the most amazing women that I had, and I don't know if you had this teacher, because we went to school together for a brief minute, Vaughn, is Barbara Bradley. I don't remember her. She was hardcore. And I loved it because she came down on you, and I learned so much from that. And it's I think we just need more. We need more qualified people. It doesn't matter what color, what size, whatever shape, who cares? I think it's really, do you have the skills? Do you have an opinion about storytelling?
Yeah. I mean, I got hired by Brenda Chapman that's how I came to Lucasfilm, originally. and she was like the best director. I've learned so much from her. So 100% agree. Like, you know, it's, yes, let's have more. That's my like.
But what about video game, Don? Like, how's that different? Because
that's a good question.
Well, right now, it wasn't just until recently that we had a female director enter the ranks. But yeah, at Blizzard right now, it's all males as well.
I remember that because I worked in games for a little bit. It was all like guys and dudes playing, you know, because it was like a first person shooter game that we were working on. So there were girls there, of course, but like it was so male dominated. And like, you know, are these companies like doing something to attract women? Like what, or is it just kind of this organic thing that's happening for that?
Yeah, it's, I mean, I'm not really sure, but I know it's part of the conversation a lot more these days, you know, just to be more aware of it.
Yeah, for sure.
So we do have we have one female director now.
Yeah, I think at Lucasfilm across the company we're like 49-51, like women to men. So I think we're trying as really hard to address that. Like it's on everyone's mind.
Yeah.
Nice. Let me change gears here and ask you guys another question, because I think most people who are listening to us are probably wanting to get into the industry. I think collectively there's, you know, I'll exclude myself, but there must be like over 100 years of experience on this panel from you guys. Juggernauts.
Wow. I mean, I'm not good at math. But
Thank you.
Yeah. What's the day-to-day like? Can you have a life doing this? Is this something that you would recommend to other people? And you can be honest, I'll just, you know, leave it out there. But what's the best thing and what's the worst thing that you think about being in this industry? Man, I stumped the panel.
Well, the day-to-day, like non kind of.
Okay, Lee Tech, hold on. I gotta give you this. Okay, you're working at Pixar, which is like everybody wants to work at Pixar, right? It's the most luxurious studio. Well, okay, a lot of people have that goal, right? And so, what is that like? Give us the real dirt that's happening. They're good and bad. I guess dirt wouldn't be good, but. Okay.
Nothing bad. What are you talking about?
There's somebody like right off screen, right? You got a producer that's like right.
There's like a lot of. I mean, honestly,
at work right now. Actually,
like the day-to-day, and this is like non work from home, pre-pandemic kind of stuff. Day-to-day of a story artist at Pixar is, because I was at DreamWorks feature, was similar. I mean, it's a lot of meetings, a lot of discussions, because it's story. So because it's story, it's a lot of discussions, right? A lot of discussions with the story team, directors, writers, about crafting the story. Like we spend 4 years, or at least 4 years, making these movies, and a lot of it is story, figuring out story. We do it for years, trying to figure out what's the best version of this character, what's the best version of this movie, and the ideas and all these things. And it's that being a story artist, a lot of it is that. And then on the day-to-day, and then a lot of it's, you know, boarding, right? Meetings and boarding. It's kind of what your day is filled with. Sometimes it's more one than the other, but it's kind of a mixture of either of those things.
But man, do you ever get tired of it? I put this question up on screen. Give me a second here. Let me find Dom here is asking, do you ever get burnt out? And this goes for everybody. Do you guys ever get burnt out from your day job doing story art that you can't work on your personal project?
Vaughn?
Vaughn, take that away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there any more? Yeah. No, it's a very labor intensive gig, and if you're working on something that you care about and you're passionate about, you can't really. It's not like a 9 to 5 where you just like, oh, I hang up my work hat and clock out. You know, you're at home, you know, at dinner thinking like, oh, I know how I can solve that problem, or, you know, it's hard to shut it off sometimes. So, but you know, I mean, that's sort of the gift and the curse is that when you're passionate about it, it's like, it's really fun when things are going well, but you know, it's just as tormenting when things aren't going well and you're like trying to solve solve something that you haven't quite cracked yet. So yeah, I mean, I think that's also kind of the struggle that every artist, professional artist, I know goes through, is trying to find that balance of turning work off and saving enough time and enough juice to be able to work on their personal stuff. Because I think most artists, that's like their ultimate goal, is to like stop making stuff for other people and make stuff for themselves, or get their own ideas out there. And it's a tough balance to thread, because especially early on in your career, because you want to keep up and you want to be able to do the quality work that's expected of you in order for you to keep getting work. And so, you're sort of on that sort of treadmill. And then when you get to a point where you're confident in your abilities and you know that you can do the job and you can kind of almost go on autopilot a little bit, then I think you're ready to like sort of start doing your own thing. But finding that balance, it's a personal thing, and it's I think it's dependent on the artist. And it depends on the job that you're working on. Sometimes you're working on a job that's like kind of an easier job that, you might take that job thinking, okay, I'm going to do this job because I want to work on my own personal project. Right. And this one isn't going to demand as much of me, like artistically and emotionally and everything else. But then there's those other jobs you're like, okay, I already know. I'm like, it's like going off to war. Say goodbye to the family. Yeah. Say goodbye. I'm going to be in the trenches for like the next, year and a half or whatever.
I think there's something with being in story too, because I've known a few people who work in animation that didn't start in story. They started in other departments and then they eventually moved in story. But like being in story, you really take that home with you. Like you really take they've told me, like you take home the problems, the puzzles of the movie, of the day or the show or whatever, a lot more than they would in the other disciplines. Like you don't, for some reason, I think it's that puzzle of the story, that kind of beast they're trying to wrangle, that kind of, it stays with you until even after you kind of shut off and go home and turn off the Zoom meeting. It's that beast, like just like it's on your shoulders, like a lot more.
Yeah.
You'll go to sleep and you'll dream about solutions. You'll wake up like, I gotta write that one down.
I know.
Right.
Yeah. Like in some ways you're in a worse spot to do personal work if you really like the project you're working on, because you make it personal, and like you kind of throw yourself into it and you just kind of get lost in this other world. And you come, once you get out of it, you're like, oh man, I haven't drawn my sketchbook for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Oh, I should do that. Like, and you kind of like see these like gaps in work, in your own work. So that's good though, because it's a cool project. So
usually for me at least is when I start working on my personal work, that's just a good indicator that I hate my current job. So it's true.
So if you see a lot of
Calvin's posting a lot on Instagram.
Little comic thing, and I'm like,
all right. Next time I see you sketching at your desk, I'm gonna be all right.
Oh, it's over. It's over.
Instagram starts blowing up.
I know.
I think I asked all you guys to bring something like for show and tell. If you want to show that, let me know. We can have you share your screen and stuff. But I think I want to get to some of these questions and ask a couple of those, and then we'll get to the Q&A at the end for everybody who's listening to this. But I do want to ask this. Okay, so for these of you guys for people who are watching and they want to know what it's like to work at these major league studios, right? I mean, we got Blizzard, Disney, Pixar, all of these places that I think either you guys have worked at or have been in and out of. Like, what did it take for you guys to actually feel like you made it or you got in there? Because I consider all you guys super veterans.
Yeah, we have over.
I started with this storyboard.org with Sergio Paez.
That's right. That's how we do it.
I signed up.
The first step.
But real talk, though, real talk. When I first started in the industry, Sergio was my mentor. I was an intern. I came to Lucasfilm as an intern, and hadn't done storyboarding before. And I was very fortunate to be picked up by Kyle Dunleavy and on the team that you were on, Sergio.
Hey,
And Sergio kept me under the wing that first couple weeks, teaching me how to storyboard on the fly. It was crazy.
I don't know if you knew this story, because when you asked me, because you knew that I was doing these classes, right? And then I know you came in as an intern, and they had you like making coffee and shoveling copies around. And I was like, why do we have an art intern when we don't even use them? And so you asked me, you came up to me, I remember this, and you asked me, can I show you some tricks and stuff? And I went up to Kyle and I said, let's give this guy a sequence, because I was on Kyle's team at the moment. And I love Kyle to death, but man, I had to convince that guy, because he was like, no, I don't know. He's like, he was just all business, right? So then I was like, dude, I will take responsibility for this sequence. I will do it if Don can't do it, but let's give him a shot. And man, I think you knocked it out of the park. And then I heard, because I left at that time, I heard you became Kyle's like key guy after that. Is that true?
Sergio, you definitely showed me the way. I wouldn't call myself no key guy anywhere, but
I think a better word would be.
No, man, Don,
I think a better word would be golden child.
That's right.
Dave still talked about you. So you left a legacy at Lucasfilm, man.
Wow.
Really, Filoni?
Yeah. He's like, I wouldn't be doing The Mandalorian if it wasn't for Don Tyler.
He's like, for you, Don.
But that's actually awesome. I thank you for bringing that. I forgot about that, because man, Don, tell us how many, if you want to, how many years have you been in the film industry and animation industry?
I jumped in 08. So what's the math on that? It's 100? We're doing math. Everything's 100. 100 years of experience right here.
Yeah.
So, but then you're right. I mean, everybody starts out like, because man, I was the same way. If I didn't have people train me, I wouldn't be able to do this. I mean, I remember you were telling me the story, right? Didn't you start at Skeleton Productions, Vaughn, and like you were also an intern, and that that was Henry Selick. This guy's a juggernaut. So I'm sure, like, have each one of you guys have a figure that you can call out, like a mentor or somebody who taught you? Weren't you taught by Dave Filoni, Mr. Tang?
I knew this.
There's a poster about that too, right?
We were talking about Vaughn here, Sergio. Yeah, I mean, he was if I was Don, he was my Sergio, I guess. He taught me storyboarding back in school. And when he started Clone Wars, he's like, I want Lee up. That's not his voice. I can't do his voice. But and I was really green, super green, right? And he believed in me and gave me a shot. I was extremely green. I couldn't imagine anyone else really giving me a shot, but he did. And it worked out. Like I was there for 4 years, and it was awesome. It was my first animation job, and I learned a ton. And I also learned how. I mean, that experience being your first experience was so different from because I went to LA after that. I was like, oh, things are a little, the mindset at Lucasfilm was different than it was in a lot of the other studios I was at, which was really fortunate to be a part of. And we were really early on too. We were doing a ton of experimental stuff at Lucasfilm. We were 100 something at the time in Lucasfilm Animation, and we're just doing weird, crazy things. And I was like, wow, it was exciting. And then it was very kind of fortunate experience. It was my first time out in animation.
Yeah, that was a pretty luxurious studio, right? I remember.
Oh yeah, I will never work that is so beautiful. Skywalker Ranch. I'm like, I'll never work at any place like this ever again.
The dreams.
Yeah. So spoiled.
So well then, okay, let me get to this point that I think, because the chat is blowing up with guys asking about this, is so how would you get trained to become an artist? And yeah, okay, storyboard art aside, yes, you should come to our courses and stuff. But what has it been for you? How did you guys actually learn? Like you were saying, Lee, you said you were young and you came in there and you were working in the studio, right? It's easier to work that way. But did you have somebody show you the ropes? I think Sterling, you said one time that you I forgot exactly tell us how you came up in the industry.
I was an intern who was at Vanguard Animation when they were making Valiant, and I was fixing their computers. So I was there to fix their computers and make databases of all the art. And I was going to USC at the time, and I would always be drawing on my lunch breaks in my sketchbook. And Gary Chapman, who was directing, caught me and was like, "Why the hell are you fixing computers? You should be drawing in the art department." So he pulled me into that, and that they moved to London, and I was left in the office with John Williams, who's the producer of that. And I kind of just became the guy that would do concept art, and I'd storyboard like ideas and like roughs for shows. And we eventually got Space Chimp screenlit, and I was just there and constantly storyboarding stuff because it was easier than writing it down for like ideas and stuff that we had. And so it just naturally evolved. I kind of got pulled into it. It was sort of interesting. Yeah. So.
Cool. Yeah, you have kind of a similar story to mine, Sterling, where, and I would say, for advice for people who are trying to get in is that, I knew I wanted to work in animation. I sort of pinpointed, a couple studios that I was really interested in, one being Skellington at the time. They were working on James and the Giant Peach. And I just sort of said, okay, I really want this. I let them know, hey, I'd like an internship. And I just kind of stayed around and kept bugging them, and got to a point where a lot of it is timing, So if you make yourself available more often, then when an opportunity comes up, you're able to take it. And then, so from Skellington, I got an internship in the story department. And then I found out that another animation studio in town, in San Francisco at the time, Wild Brain, they were doing some training, assistant animation training. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll do that. Right. So this is, I'm not getting paid for this. This is just to learn or whatever. And then, as I was there, I saw that they had a position for a runner, to do like what Don was doing, making copies and, fetching coffee and, all those kind of things. And so I took that gig, and, just because I wanted to be around, I wanted them, so then when an opportunity finally popped up, they were like, oh, we need, they were desperate. They needed somebody right now. And I've been doing the training. I was around, and they were like, give it to Vaughn. He can do it. He's been doing the training, so it was persistence, and it was, preparing myself so that when the opportunity did come and they gave me my shot, I was able to do it because I had been doing the training. And so, it takes, patience and persistence and being the kind of person that people want to work with and want to be around too, so, I was, even as the runner, I was, very helpful to people and, showed that I had drive and really wanted it, So
I gotta say, sorry to interrupt. On the intern note, I think that was probably the biggest blessing about being an intern at Lucasfilm. Those first few months, I got to meet everybody.
Yeah.
Since I was running around doing all the copies, passing out the scripts to everybody that was doing the art, I got to just poke in and say what's up to anybody, and I was never in the wrong place because I was helping somebody,
Yeah.
And that led to just an opportunity of building rapport with so many people. Like, I don't think anybody else in the building came across every single person that week, except for me, because I was the only one guy running around. But yeah, I wouldn't pass up opportunities to be an intern, maybe doing something very general, because it's such a great opportunity to meet people.
Yeah. And I'd even say on top of that, one thing that I learned from being an intern, because you're popping around the whole studio, I learned more about the whole production of animation doing that job than if I would have just got hired and was sitting at my desk for 8 hours a day. In a general sense, from an intern's point of view, I got a global sort of look at how this whole network works, from editorial to ink and paint and background and design and, you know, animation and story, you know, and how they all kind of relate to each other.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, that's been valuable knowledge ever since, you know.
Yeah, I mean, this all ties into what we were talking about earlier too, just about like, you know, passion and doing your own personal work. So if you are an intern and you're, you know, and you get your foot in the door, it's like, do that on your breaks, you know, show people that like you like to do this, you know, and you have like these like passions and, you know, you still love drawing. Because I think whenever I see somebody doing that, like in a cafe, it's like, oh, sweet, that person still got it. Like, great. I want to know that person, you know, like, what are they drawing? That's awesome. Like, oh, cool. And you start talking, and that's how you get your foot in the door, you know, like you share your love of drawing, of animation, of composition, you know, music, art, everything, you know, that's what we do. Right. So I'm attracted to that. So when I see people doing it, I want to talk to them.
Yeah. Well, and I lost the question in the field. Oh, you wanted to say something? Go ahead.
Well, actually, I got a question for you all then, because I'm a foreigner. I'm not like an American. So for me, coming to state is
not anymore.
No,
you can't pull that.
My whole, you know, my career, like big chunk of my career, just like looking from afar, like, oh my God, all these great people. Now, for those out there who don't have access to, you know, internship because they're foreigner status, whatever. So what would you suggest them to do? I'm just curious, like how do you guys?
Well, you're the foreigner, shouldn't you?
Yeah, you do it. No, I do it.
I'll say this real quick. I would follow the Calvin Sang method of getting your foot in the door, right? Wasn't it that you connected to people? Because I remember you did this to me. You know, we connected online, I think, at first, and then we met at a couple conventions. And you called me out to coffee one time. I was like, okay, let's go. I don't know this guy, but I'll have coffee. His art is cool. And then we met, and then we started working together, and then, you know, it just kept on going and going, right? So isn't that one way to do it?
Well, that's one way to do it. I'm just curious, do you have any other insight?
Well, so when I got that internship at Vanguard Animation, the whole production was only there for development, and it was moving overseas. So like my first advice from those guys was, that was like 2000, 2001, when the whole industry, Disney was collapsing and all that. All those guys told me, like, get your passport, kid. Like, all the work's going overseas. Like, if you want to get your foot in the door, you know, like, come with us up to Canada, go with us to London. You know, there's all these little shops popping up all over the place, and they want to make American content. And so they want American story artists. You know, if you can go there, killer. Like, they'll give you opportunities that some of the big studios won't.
Oh, that's a great. I would second that. Yes,
that's really good.
I've worked overseas too, and I would agree. Yeah, the sensibilities that we have being trained with, like, let's say, Western culture and Western storytelling is really valuable outside of the country. And you know, I got a really great experience there. And then I know that if the opportunity were to come up, I would do it again, because you know, it's just great being part of a team that, you know, feels like you're needed, right? It's a great.
Yeah, I mean, I was outside the country doing that for like 10 years before I came back. Like, Lucasfilm brought me back.
Where were you before Lucasfilm?
Well, I was at Vanguard, and then I was just like living and doing freelance in Canada for like a bunch of little studios there. And then I was doing some like development stuff for Aardman and like some stuff for Leica, but just from my house up overseas, and just sort of, you know, being in Canada, I kind of had, you know, healthcare and all this stuff. So I didn't have to deal with all that. And I could take all these little passion gigs that I was really interested in. So it was sort of like it was a bit of a trade-off. Like, I was like investing in the kind of projects I like to do, you know. That eventually led me to Lucasfilm, which is the type of storytelling I like to do. So action melodrama. Yay.
Nice.
Yeah. That's great advice. I think that, like, one thing that's great about animation is it's such a global profession that, especially when you're young and you don't have a family and you're able to like get up and go, if you can like open yourself up to like not only opportunities in LA, but in Canada, but in, you know, all over the place, that's just going to increase increase the odds that you can get a gig. And, you know, what better way to, like, you know, see the world, go to London, than through work and learning your trade.
Honestly, like during these times where everyone's just working from home, this has shown that the world is a lot more connected and possibly connected than ever before. Like I don't have to be in the Bay Area right now to work for a Bay Area studio, and these are things that even we as studios, most studios think this would be too hard to do, but these 5 months or I don't know how long. Wait, 9 months. 6 months.
Yeah, it's been
100 years. Last 100 years, 100 years has shown how it's a lot. There's a lot more abilities, flexibilities of where you want to work and how you want to work.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, there's also something to be said too, right? We're storytellers, so having like diverse backgrounds and like if everyone just lives in LA, you're going to get a bunch of stories which all somehow reflect LA. If everybody just lives on like being out there and in the world, you get exposed to like all this great content and story threads, and you learn how to like tell it from a different perspective, and I think that brings a lot of richness to your work. You're not just regurgitating stuff that you've already seen before. So
yeah, for sure. Is this a good segue? Because I wanted to ask you guys this question. What's the future? What do you guys see in the next 5 years for this industry? What's coming? And don't say it's all going to end and we're all going to die and all that kind of stuff. I don't believe that.
Whoa. I mean, we talked a little bit about it earlier, like up front, it's like diversity, like genders and different voices. I mean, like just looking at us here, there's a diversity in like racial and ethnic kind of viewpoints too. And I think all those trends are positive trends. Like, yes. Because what I really like about any art form is it was a variety. It just keeps it interesting, right? Like variety keeps it interesting, and different kind of ideas and perspectives and people voicing those things keeps it interesting to me. And I want, animation to continue to keep getting more interesting.
Yeah, I think another trend that's kind of happening right now is the whole sort of streaming thing that's happening right now. So it's like a lot of content, like feature is always sort of seen as like the golden,
yeah, everybody wanted to work in feature.
Yeah, I mean, everybody still does. I mean, it's it's definitely
it's overrated, guys. It's overrated.
But it's
why do all those revisions when you just do one pass and it's done?
Yeah, but streaming is like it's kind of like becoming this sort of nice like kind of middle ground where studios are offering up bigger, like especially with the whole influx of Netflix or whatever, they're offering like sort of bigger budgets for longer form content, which from a story perspective, I personally feel like it's very rewarding because you get longer time to like develop a character and whatnot, and then if you can back that up with like production value that feels on par with with feature, then I mean that's kind of the dream right there. And it's better, and it's some job security too. If you have like 12 episodes that you're working on, and if a show gets like greenlit for a couple seasons, that's pretty nice too. Although feature, what you work on it for like 5 years for
100 years.
100
years. 100 years.
I got one film.
And you're only doing one sequence that whole time.
Yeah.
Reboarding.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
I mean, I definitely see, streaming as being a big trend. Things kind of going in that direction, especially now with like all the theaters like shut down because of COVID and whatnot. It's forcing these, studios to like look at other ways of getting their content.
Well, I mean, I think more importantly too, it's like what's going on right now is going to affect all the content that comes out in the next, year or two. And so like places like us at Lucasfilm, we didn't miss a beat. Like we haven't fallen behind on our schedule at all throughout all this because everyone can just work at their station at home. So I think animation is going to be doing really well. Like we're going to be in a position where you know, in 2-3 years, I think there's going to be a windfall of investment because animation will be like stable. You know, it's just like, it's a sure bet. Like nothing's going to get in the way, even a giant pandemic. And so that's going to be a good thing for us. A lot of work, I think.
2020 will be an important mark or chapter in the history of like animation or filmmaking in general, because everything like what everyone talked about, more diversity, you know, the geography is no longer a problem, and also the way that audience consume the content, everything is this drastic change. So there's definitely a demand for different voice, different type of talent, different type of story, and also different way to produce the stuff. You know, like Netflix, they don't need an actual big everything in Burbank. They can, you know, still have a relationship with overseas studio in Asia or Canada or anywhere in Europe. So it's a very exciting time because nobody knows what's going on. Nobody have done this before. So I think it's just all for, you know, or for you to grab, kids. So.
Do you think there's going to be a boom in animation versus live action work because of the situation right now? Or let's hope it all levels out.
There is a boom right now.
It's already happening.
Yeah.
It is happening. Yeah.
Wow. And then how long do you see that continuing? Is that just going to trend, or, you know, is it going to be a boom and bust cycle? Things are going to slow down a bit?
100 years.
100 years.
At least.
Animation forever.
Winter is coming.
Winter is coming.
It really depends the studio. I mean, if they didn't F it up, because they probably will just make tons of crap. Not the major studio,
true.
but they're because everyone wants to get into the pie right now because animation seems like the only production that kind of things that can keep going. So they all want to like expand, and then you probably next couple of years you see a lot of interesting choice. You know, like, ooh, how did that get made? But it's good, you know, for people that want to try it out. But eventually, once the money or number doesn't make sense, I think then there will be like definitely some sort of adjustment. But I think, you know,
without distribution, live action guys are going to have a real hard time raising money to make features. I think the streaming stuff makes sense, but there's going to be a real problem. Like people will probably be, you know, people aren't going to be flocking back to the theaters once they open.
Right.
You know, like there's going to be a lot of people who are like, wait till it comes out on video because I don't want to, you know, you know, I'm concerned. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's a huge positive thing for animation because we're making all of this content for streaming already, like up before COVID. So we're set up for it. We know how to do the pitch and we know the process, and you know, it's cool for us because we don't have to plan for commercial breaks. So it helps the narrative.
Well, so, Don, how does this, because you're in games, how is the productivity for you guys? Like animation is one thing, but I don't want to say that necessarily applies to games, or it might.
I feel like it hasn't really touched us very much. I mean, we picked up and just kept going, just as we were in studio. I mean, things are moving pretty smooth right now, I'd say.
But isn't like games like people are playing games like way more than they were before the pandemic, right? Because they're just, I know I am.
Yeah, I think the numbers are up because everyone's stuck at home right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we have 15 minutes left. I wanted to offer you guys, did you want to show anything? Is there any kind of show and tell that you guys wanted to do? Did you bring anything for everybody watching, or should we get to the questions in the chat? Because I did want to leave some time for that as well. But if you're really, really eager, I know you guys are shy, but come on.
We have websites. Go, you can see stuff on the website. Okay. Let's answer some questions.
Really good. Thank you. That's a good. Okay, where can they find you, Sterling? How about that?
It's easy. SterlingSheehy.com.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all paintings.
Is that your website, Vaughn? Oh wait, sorry, Sterling, I cut you off. What did you say at the end?
Oh, I was going to say, you know, I don't really put any of my industry stuff up there because it's industry stuff. So it's all just like side projects and things like that. So
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. How about you, Vaughn? Where can they find you?
VaughnRoss.com. But once again, like everything is like password protected and and all that. But yeah.
All right.
You don't like leaking stuff? That's
On the not today.
That's right.
And then Calvin, is it calvinsang.com? Does everybody have their name? All right.
Calvinsang.com. Yep.
Yeah, leetang.com. Huh?
No, everyone's got a website. Oh, I just have my Instagram, LeeTang79 on Instagram.
Okay.
Everyone's still
You guys actually post your stuff online? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Who's got time for that these days?
I'm going to dontodd.com right after this.
Yeah.
Hi, Facing.
Hi. All right. Well, let me get to the questions. Let me see what we have in this chat. There's, thank you guys for hanging out. I know it's blowing up in questions. I'm going to get to as many of these as we can, and I think this is going to be the lightning round of just questions. Let me back up here in the chat and see if we can find some cool ones here.
Sorry if we didn't get your questions. I see a lot of them there.
Yeah, they were just.
Where did I see it?
Thank you guys for hanging out. Okay, here
in the comments.
I think we covered this one. This one is, how did you guys get your start? Was it at college or was it an internship or job opportunity? Let's just do a lightning round. What was better? Was it college or internship, or how was the big start for all you guys?
Everything, all of it.
Yeah.
College.
All of it.
I mean, I went to animation school. I didn't do an internship or anything.
Okay, cool.
Sorry.
Sterling, you said you did internship, right?
Yeah, I think when you're in college, like a lot of studios open their doors for you. Like the instant you're out, it's like suddenly really hard to get your foot in the door compared to when you're in college.
Mm-hmm.
So
Cool. And then Calvin, you just started working, right?
No, I did the college and I did a couple years of Canadian animation. So the big challenge for me is from the Canadian animation industry to US industry, but it's all the same. For like everyone. Yeah.
Cool. All right. This one's a good one. I like this. From Tiffany Pang here is asking, what were your biggest artistic influences growing up?
Sergio Paez. Great painting.
Sergio Paez. Yes.
Hell yeah.
For me, it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I remember being really young, watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and telling my mom, like, "Hey, when I grow up, I want to make those things." She's like, "You want to draw?" He's like, "Yeah, I just want to draw and make things move." Turtles. Yeah.
How about you, Lee?
Sword in the
Did you even watch cartoons? You were watching like dramas and Citizen Kane back when you were a kid.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Huge Hitchcock fan. Love Rear Windows.
I was 7 years old.
Yeah. It was. I watched a lot of Sword in the Stone as a kid. Like a ton of Sword in the Stone. I still kind of watch it every once in a while now. Like Milt Kahl's Hand. Like, God. Still blown away. I think I'm more blown away by it now that I kind of more informed by it than I was as a kid.
Cool. How about you, Sterling? Do you have some childhood influences there?
Charles Schultz, because I grew up in Santa Rosa, so you can escape Charles Schultz. He was always a big figure there. And Bill Watterson and definitely Jim Henson. So all of my interest in film for years was puppetry. I just wanted to do puppetry. It wasn't until college that I really kind of got into animation. So
cool. Calvin, any childhood awesome influences?
I grew up in Hong Kong, so anime was like a big thing. So, and they don't have any. The people over there just let us watch Akira when we were like 5, and they play.
That's awesome.
Graveyard. They made Graveyard of Firestone, like Firefly went on Saturday morning, so I love.
Oh
no,
Ninja Score and all that stuff. Yeah, they played really. Yeah, Saturday morning is Akira, Ninja Score, Graveyard of Firefly, all that stuff. So yeah. Yes, I can animate and all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I remember growing up. I used to love Robotech. Like we got that in the US.
Yeah, Robotech.
DuckTales. I was into both. I was into the anime and the Disney stuff. So yeah, Jungle Book was big, and like all of that. I just loved it. And then I want to see what are some of the more obscure ones. I liked all the afternoon TV. So there's DuckTales. Who knows the Bionic 6? Huh? Bionic 6. I like that one.
Oh yeah. I know that one.
And then what's the other one I was going to say was, G.I. Joe. Even though it was like you watch that now, you're like, man, this animation was, they're cutting corners on this stuff.
Oh yeah, it's all about cycles and 20-second holds.
Cool.
But the Batman still holds up. The Batman animated series still holds up. I was watching the other day. That one's the Boosted one still holds up.
Okay, let's go to this one. This is a good, pertinent question. Jose is asking, what are some solid fundamental drawing courses that you would recommend for the aspiring story artist? Drawing courses, huh? What are drawing exercises? What kind of?
Just draw. Don't stop.
Life drawing, yeah.
Yeah,
Life drawing,
sketchbooks. Always have a
Figure
sketchbook
drawing.
on you. Yeah. Just draw.
Great. I'm glad somebody else says that.
Draw.
I always say that.
Sometimes I say to people, like, try to draw what you can see, so later on you can draw what you see in your head.
Nice.
So just draw people, draw trees, draw stuff, draw whatever's in front of you, and then cool, you'll have a cool dream and you can replicate it. Great.
How much do you draw, Don? What? Because I
Dude,
know
to be honest, man, to be honest, like halfway through the industry, I probably stopped doing a lot of my own personal work because I put so much of myself into the workday because I wanted to excel there. So I really feel like I had like a finite amount of artistic creative energy to pour out, and I would dump it all into work. And by the time I got home, I wanted to do something else. I wanted to surf. I wanted to skate. I wanted to build something with my hands out of wood, rather than pencil to paper or pencil to Wacom, however you play these days.
Right.
But yeah, to go back to that earlier question at the beginning of the talks, like, yeah, I feel like I've lost a lot of my own personal work endeavors because just working on work projects.
Right.
I got to get back to it though. I see Lee Tang. He puts out. Oh man, you got to check out the Instagram.
Yeah.
Lee Tang.
Let's make
I'm
a
so
website.
inspired.
Oh my God.
You got to go pick up that website now.
You need to get a hobby, Lee. How about you go like
Probably $100.
Hobby? What are we gonna do? We can leave the house.
That's right.
It's on fire. The world's on fire.
Actually, this is another question for you, Lee. Check this out. Salad PTSD. Ooh, and you guys can all answer. Okay, so I got a question for Lee Tang. I know it might be sensitive topic, but really honestly, and some people were repeating this in the chat. Have things gotten better for women story artists after the JL incident? Actually, not. And she's saying not better. Is it safe now? This is repeating the question from the user here.
I mean, from a person that's not a female, and I haven't been there that long, and I'm not going to officially speak for the studio. It's always the studio's trying. The studio's trying to recognize missteps in the past and the present. There's a lot of missteps that we've experienced. The studio has been around for a long time, and making steps towards it. I mean, I can't really say from a perspective of someone that has been there very long, or even in the female perspective. So I can only say their attempts to make things better. And I'm not in that, they're not asking me any questions about it, or like I'm not part of coming up with. I'm not in that pay grade to be a part of anything like that. So
I mean, I think just being aware of it is probably just enough that people are like on guard for things like that, right? Because I remember when that story came out, and I was thinking to myself, man, if I ever saw like a supervisor or director doing some shady stuff in front of me, I would say it. I'd be like, yo, what are you doing? Like, what is that? And yeah, you might get fired, but then come on, like there's some socially accepted things that you can do.
What a thing to be fired for, It's like,
I mean, yeah, exactly. I think that was the fear, right? Because somebody in such a high level position as JL, really could intimidate people, whoever you are, right? It's not So anyway, so I think, well, hopefully all of that is now in the past, and then in a workplace, I think we should all be conscious of these things just in general, so that we protect each other, right? And wherever you come from, I think it's just not cool to do these shady things.
Yeah,
right?
we need diversity, or else we're not going to have diverse stories. And if our stories aren't diverse, then they're boring. And why are we doing this? So
you're right, Richard. Like having the conversation is key anywhere, like everywhere. Like that kind of conversation is happening in a lot of places, not a lot of different animation studios and a lot of different just industries all together, I would think. And this is something we as a society might have not kept an eye out on before, but that we will more so now.
Yeah. Right. I mean, now the big thing is that they acknowledge it, they start having a conversation, and hopefully the next step is do something about it and change it for the better. I mean, yeah. I'm sure
Right.
this is Pixar is not the only place that like happen to have this year
of
incident
course.
where that happens
Right.
a lot.
Yeah.
So good, hopefully that will.
Well, let me switch gears here.
Next question. Keep moving.
Yeah. Next question. Mariana here is going to save us, and she's saying, "Would a background in creative writing help in the storyboarding process?" What do you guys think about that?
Yeah.
That's like a resounding yes. I think that's a softball question, because I would say, you still have to know how to draw or be creative, know your film language, right? But writing, I found later in the game that is so super important. I just started reading books. But yeah, I think, aren't we writing with pictures? Isn't that a lot of what we do as
story artist? It's like half of the job is just knowing story structure and good storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Equally as
all right.
important, are pushing pixels, whatever it is however you do it. So
Yeah. Let me squeeze through some more questions here. Yeah, okay. This was cool from Hey Kumar. So you're asking I think he was referring to the comment that we made of being like more international. In that sense, is it that opportunities are open to well-known, accessible persons compared to equally? So I guess let me just sum up this question here. Is the opportunity equal for people outside of the country or outside of the U.S. market as they would be for somebody within the U.S. market if they're trying to go for a storyboarding job?
I hate to say this, but yes, for them, you have to think about it from like a business point of view. For a studio to bring someone from other country, if you're not exceptional, like significant better, or you have something that they desperately want, they have another artist like equally good, but then in the US, then they will just easier for them to just hire that person. Sometimes maybe that guy's not even as good as you, but that guy is good enough for the job and is in US. So that's something that sad, but it's the truth.
Do you think that'll change with this remote work stuff that we're having?
Maybe, but it also really depends on the production. There's tax involved, right?
Yeah.
So it's really,
if you're like 4 time zones away too, it's sometimes hard to coordinate meetings just because sometimes it's a good thing because it's like, oh, cool, we hand that off at the end of the day and it's magically on the desk, in the morning. But, sometimes that's like really hard. Like if you're trying to coordinate meetings, it's like, well, we have this thing that's mission critical, but we have to wait till the end of the day to talk to the guy who can help us with it. So sometimes that gets in the way. So.
It's fun as like easy accessible with this Zoom thing. I do miss sometimes, go in the studio where happy accident happens. Good idea probably sometimes coming from just a chat in the coffee room, whatever. Yeah. So I do miss that. Now we don't really. Every time if I want to talk to somebody, I actually have to schedule it, and then everything become too formal. So I think there is a advantage of going to the studio. Yeah. So.
Cool. Another question here. This one is a technical question from Peter Christian is asking, what storyboard software does the industry use? How about we do a roundtable and ask everybody, what do you guys like, if you can say, like, I don't know if it's secret or whatever, but what software are you guys working on at your companies or just on a day-to-day basis?
Pixar, we have proprietary stuff and Photoshop too. Like a lot of people board exclusively in the proprietary, and a lot of people do it in Photoshop. I learned to board in Photoshop, so I kind of like stuck with it.
Okay.
Same here. Photoshop.
Wow, interesting. How about you, Sterling? What's going on at Lucas right now?
It's all we just use like proprietary stuff. Yeah. And then I was a big fan of Storyboard Pro there for years. I fought hard for Storyboard.
Yeah, you were like the Storyboard Pro expert, man, or you are the expert for sure.
Yeah. It's all 3D. So like 3D and like hybrid 3D stuff. We make 3D shows, so it makes sense to do that.
Are you guys still using ZViz?
Yeah.
Oh my god,
So,
I miss it. I miss it so bad.
It came back.
What about Blizzard? What are you guys using?
Yeah, what are you doing at Blizzard?
We're using Maya.
Maya. Oh no! Ouch! Why?
We're using Maya. It is. If we're gonna compare it to ZViz, it is painfully slow and inefficient, but to get the job done.
They almost put me in a straitjacket. Like we did a whole year of just pure Maya at Lucas, and I was like, oh, so hard.
Yeah, I miss the ZViz days. ZViz is, wow, what a gem. It's like a jet fighter compared to like a propeller plane that Maya is.
Look at the soul.
Thanks for your, yeah. I got a question for you. What software are you using at Warner Brothers?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I'm using Blender. We're using Toon Boom, and right now I'm doing some experimentation with using Blender, and I've got Blender to kind of work the way ZViz works.
Amazing.
With the ability to actually draw in it. So it's pretty exciting. I'm pretty excited about it. I mean, there's still some work to be done, but since Blender is open source, a good Python programmer could kind of hammer out some of the rough spots, but it's pretty awesome. Yeah. Wow. It's the closest I've got. Yeah. It's the closest I've been to working like ZViz that's not, using Lucasfilm's proprietary stuff.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty like that program. For most guys that don't know, is it was a proprietary software that allowed you to do previs that was integrated with a timeline, and you could export your shots really well. And it even had it had a sketch card feature that I really loved that you could draw within that program. It was like a kind of a hack, but you could make it work. And then Blender, I think, is really going to put that together. But the user interface for that ZViz program is excellent.
Yeah. And you could edit footage like in one tab over. That's
wonderful.
Yeah, the fastest way to get feedback that your cut's working, that your shots and compositions are all lined up properly. Oh, I miss it.
Yes, I got Blender doing that now.
We got to have Vaughn back and give us a demo of the Blender.
Well, Lee first. I got to show Lee first.
Yeah, you have to show me first.
Yeah.
After hearing all this.
The end of the talk here, and let me get this one last question from Mark here, because I think we'll just do a lightning round here. Mark is asking what's the most challenging part of boarding now? What's the most challenging part of boarding when you started out versus now? Like just a quick response from each of you guys. Who wants to start with that one? Is there something that you think is more challenging or less challenging now?
I guess what's less challenging, it's like visualizing the script. Because it's words, right? You get it when it first started. It's like you have to make this into the visual format now, and making the decisions to get that effectively. That interpreting it, that was harder then than it is now.
I think for me, like the process of understanding what was important to board in the script was something that I wasn't keen on when I first started. Just thinking about shot making. And in those early years, I wasted a lot of time in betweening, or just drawing panels that just weren't useful to the storytelling moments, but just filling it out so it looked like it was animated, if you were able to click through it. Mm-hmm. And nowadays, I feel like I'm more keen on what is necessary to visualize first, and then you kind of grow out from there, right? Fill in as you need.
Yeah. I think for me, it's similar to both of those things, but also just knowing production really well, like knowing like how I can save production farther down the road by simplifying my cameras or simplifying my setups. And the more simple I can make it, the easier it is for them to do their jobs. So the landscapes will be better, or the animation setup will be really simple, so they'll be able to do better performances. Or it's really easy for the lighting guys because I'm not rotating. So there's a lot of just like knowing how production works, knowing how to make it easy for other people, because that's kind of what we're doing. We're setting up the pipeline, and if it's not producible, they can't make it. So things get made now, and so that's a lot easier.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that one, Calvin? Now,
all of the above, and I think aside from the technical stuff, I think when I first started, I freaked out a lot over everything. Oh, maybe the director didn't like my board, and you overthinking about a lot of stuff. Now you just kind of learn it's okay. Like you know, like whatever the note is, whatever how may seems like, oh, it's impossible, there it will be okay. It will be okay. Things you'll get it done. Just give do 100% the best you can, and usually it will turn out okay. So that's
off of that, Calvin, I think I'd say developing a workflow that's revisable. That's something I didn't have in the beginning. That would
too.
kind of lead to those freakouts, like, oh no, that's a huge change.
Right.
I'm screwed, But nowadays, it's like every step you make, it's almost like second nature to set yourself up with these clean foundations that are revisable. And I think that just allows you to just think about the story and, the art rather than.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I also used to work way too much. Now I've learned to like pencil down, like work as hard as you can during the hours and then just like pencil down.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. Cause like, I think, I used to like really just like late nights, like working in the morning, always wanted to impress. And I was like so burned out. And like over the years, I learned just to be like, no, you got to be professional. And that means
go both ways.
You gotta
they gotta respect your time. Yeah.
Take your time. It's like, it's past 6. Well, they're not paying you anymore. Go home, draw, paint, do something else, go for a run, do whatever you want to do. It'll be there tomorrow.
So I do want to speak to that too, about the whole getting as much work done as possible during the work hours so that you can get home or get away from the work to do that stuff. To this day, like every week, there are still things where I count how many clicks it took me to do something. And if I can reduce one, I will figure out a way to reduce one click. And over the years, like, I feel like that's allowed me to become efficient enough to get the work done quickly so that I could just get out of there. Right. And I still have this thing since the Lucas days.
Speed pad.
Show it again. What is that? That is a shortcut keyboard, right?
Get the light on
Man,
here.
years on it. Look at the burned-in hand mark you got.
I leather wrapped it because the plastic was stupid.
Thanos keyboard.
But yeah, anything to save clicks and just reduce the number of times I even have to look away at my keyboard to find a button. Everything's just sitting down there and just trying to create the best way to stay in flow state, like as long as possible, so I can get out of there. So I can go. I want to go surf. I don't want to sit here in front of the computer anymore.
That's why I hate. That's why I hate sitting at someone else's computer to do some drawings. Because where is this? What do you do? What's the button?
I'm gonna speak to that too. None of my buttons are like custom. They're all like the standard, whatever the application uses. Like if you came, you'd still use the keyboard as you normally would. Nothing's changed from that. So
yeah, I think I personally use all like just default setups for everything because I constantly have to work on other people's stuff, and so I just delete all of their custom settings and just go back to default so I can get it done.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome, you guys. This has been fantastic. I will leave you. Let's do last roundtable of any last comments or words that you guys want to do. But thanks everybody for all the comments that you did. I know we didn't get to anybody or to everybody during the time of this chat. But if you have any questions, keep that up there, and we'll see if we can respond later on. But okay, let's do a big round and see if you have any parting thoughts. How about you, Vaughn? Anything you want to say? I don't know, movie wise, film wise, story wise.
Well, I mean, I didn't answer your last question of like what's the hardest thing. Working from home with family is a bit of a challenge, but it's very rewarding at the same time.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say to everybody out there trying to get in the industry, just keep chipping away, keep pushing your passion. I mean, a lot of people are in this because they love it, and like Sterling was saying, when a seasoned artist sees somebody coming up who's passionate and really wants to get in, they take notice, and it's just a matter of time.
Nice. How about you, Calvin? Any words of wisdom you can give us?
Just to follow up on practice. Yes, practice, but I think practice with deliberate practice with consistency. I quote that from Kobe Bryant. You don't just draw for the sake of drawing. Draw with a specific thing you want to achieve in mind. I want to draw like Lee Tang, so whenever I draw, I'll be like, "What will Lee Tang do?" That would be the kind of similar question
Agreed.
you ask yourself, like why are you drawing this, right? If you want to draw like get a more like appealing head, or more structural head, or all this question, constantly think about it when you practice. Don't just draw for the sake of drawing. Then you're just doodling. Then you will not go anywhere.
I start by asking, what would Calvin do? That's how that. Then you know what you would do, and then it ends up
in the circle perpetuates itself.
It's a circle of you and me. Where do you stop, Calvin, and where do I begin? I don't even know.
Egg or chicken, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But deliberate practice with good. Then just keep at it. And then there's another thing is it's easy to get the technical skill up. It's very easy to network. You just go. But those are things that can be done. But I think your character, being a nice person, that is something that you just cannot be trained. Just be nice to people, I guess. Because that's all.
Yeah. Cool. Lee, want to say anything in addition to that?
Go live your life, honestly. I mean, like what Don was saying, like he goes home and surfs and all that stuff. Like as storytellers, just as artists, inspiration is everywhere. And if you don't live your life and enjoy things and, step away from the grind of work or, studying and all that stuff, like just enjoying your life and the aspects of it, that stuff feeds into your work so easily. Like it informs what you care about in your life and what you care to speak about in your artwork. So I've known teachers to say like you just have to grind and work all the time, but stepping away, enjoying things, because stepping away is part of being productive too. It gives you perspective, it gives you fuel, it gives you inspiration, it gives you all that stuff. So I think there's that perception that it's always about this all the time, but it's about life, and that feeds into your art. It's kind of just an extension of it.
And just quickly follow up with that, and some of the best sequences that I've seen usually have some sort of personal connections to it because they have more live experience. They don't just follow the script or have interpretations because they have lived their life. Then they have a very interesting angle or entry point to the sequence that often make the scene a lot better than what was written. So yes, go live your life.
Cool. I like it. Don, you're like our hero here. You surf every day?
Yeah.
Oh no, I wish. I got a crying baby running around. I got to take care of too. I'd say, I think finding a mentor figure that will guide your exercising is probably the fastest way that you can be advancing in a healthy way rather than just grinding away blindly. So I'd say reach out to Sergio often because
Storyboard.org.
I joke, but at the same time, I mean that seriously. Yeah. I experienced that firsthand through Sergio. So
Don, you're awesome. Thanks, man.
I could say that having that guiding voice, or even if it's just through email these days, it's so easy to do to just be in touch with somebody, to just show your work, which I would say do often, right? Show your work often. If you're boarding and you don't know if it's clear, right? You got to show somebody. It's like, oh, I guess it wasn't clear then if they didn't pick up on it, right? So show it often. And if even better, if you could show it to somebody that is a guiding light, like Sergio Paez, Storyboard.org. Storyboard.org.
He's our paid spokesperson.
I got no affiliation here, but man, I got some diaper funds that I could use some refills for, Sergio. I could send some No, I'm just kidding. All kidding aside, yeah, everything everybody said so far, go out, be away from the work, so that you can live and experience and draw from real what's the word?
Life.
Authentic stories, right?
Authentic.
Definitely practice all the time and And reach out to Sergio. Just ask Sergio all the questions because he'll take you down the right path.
Yep.
You can, Sergio, if you get overwhelmed, send them to me too.
All right.
I'll answer any
We're going to
questions.
have to come on to the Story Artist Mentorship because we have a mentorship program that we started up. We've been talking about.
Anybody wants to ask questions, I'll be glad to pass on everything Sergio taught me. So
Likewise.
Reach out. Thanks, Don. Hey, Sterling. All right. You're the last one. Give us some really golden nuggets here. What do you think
most importantly is stay curious. And the other thing I'd probably say is don't make art for your portfolio. Make art that you want to see. So if you make art and do drawings or sculptures or whatever it is that you're passionate about, it'll lead to work in that direction. If you are trying to just, I don't know, like if you're constantly making portfolio work to get somewhere, you're just trying to make something that someone else wants to see, but make something that you want to see, like make your own, like we're storytellers, if you want to tell those unique stories, you got to, try and push them and fight them and get those narratives, in some way. And if you become the expert in that type of storytelling or that type of imagery, the work will follow. It'll find you. So, because other people will be inspired by it and they'll want to work with you and they'll want to see those stories too.
Rad. That's awesome. That's a great note. How about we end on that one? And I'll remind people, thank you, Juan. I'll thank everybody for listening to us today. I hope this has been inspiring and some insightful information for you guys. So we're having talks this whole day today. And I will remind you guys, the next live stream that we're doing is going to be at 3 p.m. Pacific time. And I'm going to be leading that one. I'm going to be talking about technical tools to get into storytelling. So I will talk about like the equipment that you need, the software, and that's going to be a technical talk. So you guys want to nerd out and geek out on that, come join me at 3 p.m. And then you're going to see that on our Lightbox Expo landing page there. All right, friends, how about we call this one for today? And I thank all you guys. You guys are the best. And so for you panelists, stay on for a second. We're going to sign off for these guys. And I do want to say goodbye to you guys privately afterwards. And let me bring up the logo and we're done with this. All right, guys, thank you so much for